and welcome to vlog number 11. This is the vlog that we've all been waiting for. It's time to go to the Bahamas and play in the $25,000 buy-in tournament that I won entry in the Andrew Nemi vlog contest. No, that didn't happen. I lost. I didn't even get top 5. But hey, a couple cool guys made it in. Oliver, good luck. Hope you do great. Matt Kiefer, love the vlogs, man. Hope you do awesome. And then I know Trevor, who was in the top 5 but didn't win a pass. He went ahead and got his own pass, and he's gonna be there also. So good luck to all 3 of my fellow vloggers in paradise. I will be in Houston enjoying the muggy and not cold enough for Christmas weather. Hope you guys have a good time. Thanks. Drink a beer for me. And I don't know, win some money. So we have a pretty cool episode today. There's been a lot of things happening, not much related to poker. We've only played 1 poker session in the last 2 weeks. But it was Christmas and New Year's and my son's birthday, and we did some pretty fun stuff, and we're gonna give you some highlights of that, and I'm gonna go over some pretty interesting hands from the poker session that we did have. I also want to say, if anyone's seen my kids, could you please tell me where they are? Because something happened and they've all of a sudden disappeared, and I never see them anymore. Thanks, Santa. Okay, I take that back. My youngest, he is still around. He's in the backyard, and he's training to become the next Barry Bonds. And no, I don't plan on giving him steroids yet. Yay! So a few days before Christmas, we decided to make a stop at the Hubcap Grill, which is a favorite of ours. They've got lots of interesting burgers that you can choose from in an ice house type setting. My favorite is the Frito Pie burger, which has chili cheese, cheddar, and Frito chips on it. They've also got about 10 different ways you can get your French fries. We like the feta fries and the buffalo hot wing fries. Kids found an ancient relic that they did not know how to operate, but at some point they realized that it could produce music. Interesting. And then my son found blue barrels in the back that reminded him of his monkey in a barrel game. Unfortunately, they were filled with fryer grease, and we quickly had to remove him from that situation. So it's like 75 degrees here in Houston right now, but we're making the best of it. Probably a bad idea, but hey, you only live once. So this is actually my second time ice skating. live in Houston, we typically don't ice skate a whole lot. Got a little cocky toward the end and almost fell over, so we're just gonna watch the rest of the time.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Shelby. Happy birthday to you.
Light your candle.
One more. One more. Yay!
Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you're having a great time with your friends, your family, or maybe just binge watching something on Netflix. I'm wishing you lots of run good in 2019. Alright, so today we're hanging out at beautiful North Shore Park in the Woodlands, which is a suburb north of Houston, about 30 miles. I'm gonna get the kiddos somewhere to run around and maybe sneak away and talk about a few hands from the night before. As usual, we went to our favorite place, Prime Social, and although we had pledged to play more PLO, I wasn't really feeling PLO, so we went ahead and hopped in the 1-3 no limit game. The 5-5 game had 8 people on the list, and for some reason they didn't want to make the game just yet, so we sat down in hopes that a couple more people would sign up to the list and the game would get going. So the first hand we're going to talk about, we have Ace Queen of Diamonds in the cutoff. Middle position player bets to 20, which ended up being a fairly standard bet in this game. People were making it about 20 to 25 pre-flop, so the stacks around the table were pretty deep. We bought in for 500, but it looks like there's a couple people that have over 1,000 in their stacks already. So this game is probably going to play a little bigger than a standard 1-3 100 big blind game. Folds to us, and we put in a 3-bet to 75. Middle position player only has about 120 behind, so we figure a lot of times if he's going to go with his hand, he's probably going to stick it all in. And that's what he does. He goes ahead and puts in the rest, and we call. The flop is 10-9-8 with 2 spades. Turn is a 9, and the river is a 4. We don't really expect to be taking this one down too often, but we go ahead and show our cards, and the opponent shows pocket queens. So we lose this one. It was a fairly simple spot. I think we're okay to get the money in there with such a small stack, but unfortunately he had a pretty good hand even though we blocked the queen. So in this next hand we're going to talk about, we have ace king offsuit. We open from early position to 20, and the player immediately to my left 3-bets to 60. Effective stacks with this player about 400. A player in middle position and a player in late position call the 60, and it comes back to us. This seems like a pretty good spot to squeeze. We've got a lot of dead money in the pot that we can pick up if we take this one pre-flop. So we decide it's time to put in a 4-bet with our ace king offsuit. I go ahead and make it 300. I feel like this is a good size. It's gonna get the middle position and late position player to fold very often, I believe. Their cold calling range is probably not strong enough to call that kind of bet, but we might get a call from the 3-better. Additionally, since he only has another 100 behind, he may just go ahead and jam, and we're totally fine playing a pot this size with this hand. And that's exactly what happens. He jams to 400 and the other 2 players fold. The board runs out king jack rag on the flop and makes a heart flush possible by the river. He turns up his hand, he has king jack of hearts. So not only did he make 2 pair on the flop, he ends up with the king high flush by the river. So kind of an unlucky run out on this one, but we are happy to get our money in this spot. We had another hand where we raised pocket 8s from middle position and we got jammed by a short stack for 120 in late position. Folds back to us, we call. The board runs out pretty good for us, but unfortunately our opponent flips up his hand and he rivered a set with pocket 4s. So again, we got the money in good and we just couldn't connect with the board in the right way. It looks like we've got the family joining us. Say hello.
Hi. Shelby. Oh boy.
Alright, well, time to go be super dad for a little bit, and we will get back to a couple more hands shortly. Oh. Looks like we got a fellow YouTuber here at the park. Shout out to Wolfie Chew. Hashtag YouTuber Wolfie Chew. Looks like someone did a nice little drawing here. Good work, Megan.
Smile.
Smile.
Smile. You're on camera. Yes.
Smile.
Yay!
Alright, so we're back at the house. We had a great time at the park. The kids get a little restless when they're inside too long, so it's always a good idea to let them get outside and, you know, let out some energy, blow out some steam, have a little bit of fun. So that's what we did. We still have a few more hands to talk about. In fact, these will be the most interesting hands of the night for sure. In the first one, we have pocket 10s in early position. We'll go ahead and bump it up to the standard raise of 20. And we get 2 callers, one from middle position and one from the cutoff. The flop is 9-7-2 rainbow. We want to go ahead and put in a bet here for some protection. So we put in a bet of 40 and we get 1 caller from the player in the cutoff. The turn is an offsuit queen. I want to go ahead and continue betting on this card. The queen is actually more favorable for our range as the initial raiser, and I also think that it's unlikely to have improved his hand. So we bet 75 into a pot of 140 and cutoff calls. The river is a 9 of hearts. I decided to check this river. The 9 is a better card for his range. He's going to have some top pairs that he hung on to on the flop and the turn. I don't think there's any sense in trying to go for any value here. There's not any hands that I can think of that would call a bet that are worse than mine. So we go ahead and check, and he bets out 200. It's about a 2/3 size pot bet. We decide that we have a hand that we are probably going to have to just grit our teeth and call with, and we do. Luckily for us, we show tens and he says it's good and mucks his hand. In the next hand, we raise an early position with the Queen Jack of diamonds. We get 2 callers, one in middle position and one in late position. The flop is Jack 8 for rainbow. I decide that this is actually a good spot to check my hand. Queen Jack's probably not a hand that I'm expecting to get 3 streets of value with here, so I think that if I check on the flop, there won't be too many cards that come out on the turn that will be scary. This is a very dry board, and it's very likely that if we're ahead now, we will still be ahead on the turn. So we check, middle position checks, and we get some good news when late position decides he wants to put a little more money into this pot. He makes a bet of 40, which we, of course, are going to call with our top pair, and the middle position player folds. I said that there was no bad cards that could really come on the turn. Well, I might have to eat my words. I mean, in general, I probably have to eat my words sometimes, but not this time because a jack comes on the turn. Yay! That's right, we now have trips, and good thing for us, it's pretty well concealed because we checked on the flop. Considering late position already bet the flop, we decide to go with another check, hoping that he will continue to bet his hand. Sure enough, late position bets 100. We could put in a raise here. I want to keep my opponent's bluffs in, and we are still dealing with a pretty dry board here. The river is an ace. We have about 600 left behind, and the pot is $340. Now, this player in particular, I have played with quite a few times. He used to play at another card room that I went to for a couple years. And I know he's a pretty savvy player. The kind of player that is definitely a thinking player. So I decide on a all-in bet, which is almost twice the pot. I'm definitely polarizing myself here in this spot, but I know this is the kind of player who would see a bet like this and also immediately think that there is a good chance that I could be bluffing here. There's definitely a type of player at the 1-3 and 2-5 level that I wouldn't try this kind of play on because they're only going to call you with their really strong hands. But my read on this guy is that he will probably try to snap off some bluffs with some of his bluff catcher hands. Especially if he has a hand like ace-8, ace-4, or a pocket pair such as 10s or 9s. I could pretty much see him calling this bet with all of these hands. Well, I'm not sure what he had because he didn't show, but he did decide to call my bet. So we get paid off on this one, we show our hand, he says it's good, and we scoop a pretty decent sized pot. Well, the night wouldn't be complete without a solid bluff, right? In this hand, we open from middle position with 9-7 suited. This is a little bit of a light opening for middle position. I would generally recommend not opening this hand unless you're playing extremely deep. In this situation, we're at about 500 effective, which is a little bit less than 200 big blinds, so I think it's probably a little loose, but it's a cash game, and sometimes we like to have fun in cash games, and we sacrifice a little bit of EV in the process. It folds around to the button, who 3-bets. He makes it 60. Then the big blind cold calls the 60. So the action's back on us, and we have a chance to close the action out. It's a 3x raise, and we've already got one caller in between us. We could go for a 4-bet squeeze play here, but I eventually decide on a call. I think that we are getting a really good price here, and I definitely don't want to fold my hand, and I think that we can find some better opportunities for a 4-bet bluff. The flop is 7-8-3 with 2 diamonds. We've got a middle pair and a backdoor flush draw, so things could be worse. The big blind checks and we check. I don't really see a good reason to bet here since the button has been the aggressor so far. The button also checks, so we're going to see another card. There's a pretty good chance that we have the best hand here. The turn's a pretty good one. It's a 6 of clubs giving us an open-ended straight draw. And we always love it when we pick up equity on the turn. Makes our hand a lot easier to play, and it opens up a lot more opportunities for bluffs. In hindsight, I think that we should probably bet in this spot because we would like to protect our hand from some overcards that could come on the river. and our opponents haven't really shown any signs that they want to bet, so a check raise seems like it might be unlikely. I'm not really sure why, but in the moment I decided to check. But we kind of got bailed out. The button decides that he wants to bet 80. So the big blind folds, and now we have an interesting decision. Do we flat call this bet with our open-ended straight draw and pair, or do we put in a check raise and put our opponent to a tough decision? Well, I love me some check raising, so that's what we went with. So I check raise it up to 300, and here we go. Another decision which I think in hindsight was maybe a little poor. Let me explain why. I only have about $150 left behind here, so when I check raise at 300, if he calls, now I only have $150 and I'm looking at a pot that's 780. So my ability to bluff is basically reduced to nothing on the river. And my ability to fold is also going to be almost nothing. So why not just put all the money in on the turn? That's probably what I should have done, but instead I bet 300. We were really hoping that this would get button to fold, but it doesn't. He calls. So the river comes in a queen of diamonds. We don't make a straight. The diamond flush, the front door flush, comes in on the river, and we're kind of stuck in this weird spot. We can't really force our opponent off of very many hands. This player I don't know very well, but I do recognize him, and I get the impression that he's a somewhat aggressive but kind of by the book player. So I figure if I bet my 125, he's going to call with a lot of his range. So I don't think bluffing the river with this small a bet makes any sense. And so I check. And I'm kind of just, you know, I know that if he bets, I'm probably still going to have to call because he's be betting 125 into 780. And I still have middle pair. There's still a chance that we might be good. Probably not, considering he called the 300 on the turn, but we only have to be right very rarely to make the call profitable. But we get a gift from the heavens. He checks it back. Well, we still figure we're probably gonna lose this hand, and we shrug and flip our hand up. 7-9 suited. Third pair. And then we get hit with the Christmas miracle. Okay, so this was actually like 10 days after Christmas, but I'm gonna count it as a Christmas miracle because I didn't see any miracles around Christmas time, and this one's pretty close. He has ace king. We got him beat. We scooped the whole pot. Wow. And I'm not really sure how, but we ended up getting max value on this hand despite the fact that I think we made some questionable decisions. Sometimes it pays to be lucky, and we're not gonna complain too much. We'll move on. So after what ended up being a pretty swingy session, we were down a few $100, we were up $600-700. We end up cashing out for a profit of $350. For a 1-3 game, that's not too bad, and we will definitely take it, and we are happy to book our very first session and very first win of 2019. So I hope that you enjoyed your holidays, and I hope that if you were celebrating New Year, you had a good time there also. So before we wrap it up, I'll go ahead and mention that in 2 weeks, I will be in New Orleans, and it's a trip for me and the wife, so there's going to be a lot of eating, a lot of relaxing, a lot of drinking, maybe some jazz music, but I promise that I'm going to try to get one poker session in at least. I figure I will set the wife up with a spa day or something of that nature while I'll go play some cards in New Orleans. There's Harrah's, which is right by the French Quarter where we're staying, and I played there before, and generally there's some pretty good action. They allow Mississippi live straddles, which means you can straddle anywhere, the button, middle position, under the gun, whatever you want. And I'm not sure about the amount, but in some places it's, you know, it can be 3x or even more. So that should be a lot of fun. New Orleans is one of my favorite places to visit, and I look forward to showing you some of my favorite spots. So thanks again, as always, for tuning in. And if you enjoyed this video, or if you've enjoyed any of the other videos in this channel, I would really appreciate it if you like and subscribed. I know it's super cliche, and every freaking YouTuber asks you the same damn thing every time you watch a YouTube video. But there's a reason why they do that. It's because A, it really helps the channel, and B, a lot of times people just don't think about it, and so when you remind them, they go, oh, hey, this is something I can do for free that helps the channel that I like. Boom. Done. So if you could do that, that would be totally sick. And if you're feeling really energetic, you can head over to my Twitter and my Instagram account and follow me on there. Quick shout out to Upswing Poker. Sick t-shirt, sick training site. They don't sponsor me, but if you'd like to, hit me up.